Good evening, Inspector. Glass of wine?
No, thank you. I just called to see if there's any special arrangements for your breakfast.
Just coffee and a slice of toast, thank you. Oh, and perhaps a few grapes. I hate to disappoint the newspaper reading public. That'll be too early for the conventional hearty breakfast. The appointment. Is at 8, is it not?
At 8, yes. If I may venture to say so, I am amazed at your calmness.
Dr. Johnston was as always right. When he observed, depend upon it, sir, that when a man knows he's going to be hanged in a few hours, he concentrates his mind wonderfully.
Well, if there's nothing further I can do for you...
Nothing. Thank you, Inspector.
Good night, Your Grace.
Good night, Inspector.
A brief history of the events leading thereto written on the eve of his execution by Louis Williamson Mulligan, 10th Duke of Williamson, who ventures to hope that it may prove not uninteresting to those who remain to read it.
My men, it is not by my choice that you keep me company. If you wish to sleep, please do it with the courtesy of being quiet.
With so little time left to complete my story, it is difficult to choose where to begin. Perhaps I should begin at the beginning. I was a healthy baby, adopted at birth by a Scottish mother and an English father, who succumbed to a heart attack at the moment of setting eyes upon me. In the circumstances of the situation, I have slight memory of him. Mamma was the daughter of the 7th Duke of Williamson, of the Williamson estate. She lived with her handsome singer and exchanged the medieval splendours of the estate for the modern conveniences of 74 Primrose Avenue, SW. They were poor but happy for 15 years, reduced to even greater poverty by my father's death. Mamma swallowed her pride and made an effort of reconciliation with members of her family. They did not even reply to her letter. She felt that her family had conspired to cheat me of my birthright. I was shown my family tree and how the dukedom in my family had been passed down by Edward Williamson I while during his exile. Mamma was in line for becoming a duchess, so there was a possibility that one day I might become duke. While I grew up, Mamma and I tried to find myself employment, and at the time, the only people we knew were the Williamson family, so we sent another letter seeking a job. The letter was duly dispatched, and this time we did get an answer.
Madame, I'm instructed by Lord Charles Williamson to inform you that he is not aware of your son's existence as a member of the Williamson family, signed by his secretary.
It's very strange that they do not acknowledge your existence, considering you could become the next Duke of Williamson.
It's a big might, Mamma. There must be at least 5 people before me, to say nothing of the ones that haven't even been born yet.
Stranger things have happened. I don't mean to sound unchristian, but in view of that attitude, I could almost wish that all those 5 people would die tomorrow.
All except one, Mamma. Because you must be Duchess before I am Duke. It'll have to be a job, not a career after all.
I'm afraid so, Louis.
Did Mamma's silly dreaming plant in my brain some seed that was afterwards to grow into the most sensational criminal endeavour of the 20th century? If so, I was not aware, not conscious of it at the time. But there were more important issues to hand. Even potential dukes have to eat. Our lodger for 15 years did his best to be helpful. The future Lord Williamson became what is known as the general assistant at the local antique store. And then one day, Mamma, who had broken her glasses and could not afford to have them mended, was knocked down by a tram on Leith Walk and fatally wounded.
Louis?
Yes, Mamma?
I wish to be buried at the estate, in the family vault.
I wrote to the Duke informing him of Mamma's dying wish. His reply was a courteous possible refusal. I made an oath that I would revenge the wrongs her family had done her. It was no more than a piece of youthful bravado, but it was one of those acorns from which great oaks are destined to grow. Even then, I went so far as to examine the family tree and prune it to just the living members. But what could I do to hurt them? What could I take from them? Except perhaps their lives. I imagined wiping out each individual with the use of my unseen hand, and for a moment imagined that they were all dead, but there were more problems since Mamma's death. Mamma's benefits had stopped coming in, which meant it was harder for me to bring in enough income. But there was promotion for me in the form of MC Alpin Jewellers, a store accountant. During every lunch break, I checked the newspapers at the birth and death columns. Sometimes it would bring in good news, sometimes it brought in bad. The addition of 2 sons to the Duke was a terrible blow.
Thankfully, an epidemic of the bird flu restored the plan immediately and even bought me a bonus in the form of the Duchess.
I decided to promote young Hamilton to becoming my first candidate for removal. It is so difficult to make a neat job of killing people with whom one is not on friendly terms. My approach to Hamilton became an instant success. I had studied some photographic manuals during the week and found out that to take successful photographs, someone must have the ability to judge a subject upside down. It was then that I first saw Hamilton Williamson.
Is that a GVR 180?
Why, yes it is. Are you a photographer?
I dabble in it a bit. I got a Phoenix 5.
A Phoenix 5?
Yeah, with autofocus, stabilizer, de-duster, you know the bit. I tell you, why don't you come to my place? I'll show it to you.
That sounds very interesting.
By the way, my name is Hamilton Williamson.
I'm Louis Mulligan.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
He was a pleasant fellow who I regretted that I would not know for much longer.
We had the potting shed turned into a darkroom, and if I tried, I couldn't have done a better job. So we got all the equipment from the local store from town, and I must say the results are top haul. So, by the way, speaking of the village, I'm hoping you're not sending those pictures to the newspaper. Can I ask you, if you're a good fellow, a little request?
Ask what?
I'd be most grateful if you don't expose the pictures you've taken.
The pub? But it was delightful!
You see, the fact is that my wife has certain views on the location, so I'd rather not be seen there.
Naturally. I wouldn't dream of embarrassing you.
I know you were a good fellow. Let's have a drink on that. Unless you have your own views, of course.
None whatsoever.
Splendid. I knew you were a good fellow. Cheers. Ah, my dear, this is Mr. Mulligan. He has a camera 180 GVR. Mr. Mulligan, my wife.
I'm no photographer, Mr. Mulligan, but I share my husband's pleasure in welcoming fellow enthusiasts. Would you care for a glass of sherry?
Yes.
My husband and I don't drink alcohol, but we see no reason to inflict our views upon others.
I have a few printing frames hanging out in the sun. If you don't mind, I'll go and have a look for them.
During the night, I reached Hamilton's house before visiting the following day. It took a mere few seconds to switch paraffin with the lamp inside the shed.
Brava, Edith!
The day went by in agony. Hamilton took photograph after photograph, but he seemed to have no urge whatsoever to visit the darkroom. I was suddenly beginning to fear that he had suddenly taken the pledge.
I think I'll go and develop these before tea. Care to come?
I would indeed. But I have a slight headache. See, the sun, the chemicals, they wouldn't improve it.
Mr. Mulligan and I will take tea underneath the tulip tree. I've always found that most beneficial for a headache.
Poor Edith. She was about to have her heart broken. If only she hadn't married a Williamson.
I'm afraid Hamilton will think that I'm a poor enthusiast.
I think in many ways my husband is a little too obsessed with the hobby. Before we were married, he had few interests. He used to spend most of his days at the club. If he ever died, I would probably commit suicide.
Has he never shown an interest in the career of politics?
None. What is it?
Oh, the burning leaves at the bottom of the garden.
Well, they can't be this time of year. Hamilton!
You wait here.
Needless to say, I was too late. I decided to promote Henry Williamson next on my list. He was a minister at his local church, interested in the entire history of the kirk. He had been recently suffering from chest pains.
Good evening, my lord.
Good evening. I was just admiring the interior of the kirk.
Ah, this ancient church was built by the Norman knight Dodin in or around the year 1124. It was built on land gifted by King David I of Scotland to the monks of Kelso Abbey. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Henry Williamson, minister of this parish.
Bishop of Matabele land. I was just passing by and spotted the church en route through the park.
Have you noticed our Norman archway?
Ah, grand.
As it was originally built, the church consisted of a nave, a square tower, and a chancel. In 1631, the Pressenfield aisle was built. And as you can see, it consists of a gallery and, in the north apse, a burial chamber in the basement. I always say our west window has all the exuberance that one might expect.
At last, he did what I wanted and invited me for a drink. The Lord Henry was not one of those newfangled ministers who carried out the principles of their vocational comfortable into the private life. However, he exhibited a polite interest in the progress of the Christian faith in Matabele land, which I had some difficulty to satisfy.
The SBS provided us with a large number of copies of the good book, translated into Matabele, but as none of the natives can indeed read their own language.
You speak Matabele yourself?
Not as a native.
It would be interesting to hear a sample of the language.
I'm afraid my Matabele is a little rusty.
Oh, come now, my lord. Daniel cast into the lion's den, for instance?
It's an informal rendering, of course.
Most interesting. My lord, the port is with you. How do you find the wine?
Perfect.
1854. A most pleasant year, don't you agree? Although my doctor doesn't seem to think so.
And what does he favour?
Abstinence. Would you care for a little brandy?
Of course.
He's continually warning me of the state of my arteries, but I say to him, what possible harm could there be in one glass or two?
What harm indeed?
You do not condemn me then?
No, not at the least.
If I may say so without disrespect to my superiors, your visit here today has brought me something that no other minister in the country could have brought me.
I figured out that his doctor would assume that he had a heart attack. The next few months went slowly until, due to my increased potential to become Duke, I was invited by the man himself for a long stroll while watching him chase people illegally on his property.
Check the traps this morning, Hopkins?
Not yet, sir.
I think we bagged one of the blighters. Now, Hopkins is going to thrash you.
Gladly, sir.
Then he'll let you go. And let this be a lesson to you never to trespass on my land again. That'll do, that'll do. Keep moving the traps around, Hopkins. Otherwise they keep telling each other where they are.
I thought man traps were illegal.
Oh, they are.
Oh, I think I might have dropped my watch. I'll catch you up in a minute. Nearing the end of the day, my host was still alive. If I was not to find a way of disposing of the Duke, I would witness the ruin of my entire campaign.
We might have another walk round later if you feel like it.
That would be most pleasant. After lunch, we headed out on another walk. So far, my plan was set in motion. His remarks during the day were of the most untimely and tasteless to the extreme. It was pleasant to walk on the grounds, knowing that the acres which stretch as far as the eyes can see would soon be mine. After lunch, we went out again to catch some more lawbreakers.
Listen, I thought I heard something. Like someone running through the bracken.
Another trespasser!
Yes, look! Over there!
Blast! Louis! Get me out of here! Hurry up, man! Have you gone mad?
Quiet, Charles. I want to talk to you for a minute. If you make a noise, I shall leave you here for the buzzards at once. By the time anyone has heard what has happened to you, I shall be running back towards the estate shouting for help. I shall say that you stepped on a trap and your demise was of the most unfortunate of events. So be quiet. When I've finished, I shall kill you. You want to know why? In return for what you did to my mother. Because she married for love instead of for rank, or money, or land. They condemned her to a life of poverty and slavery in a world for which they had not equipped her to deal with. You, yourself, refused to grant her dying wish, which was to be buried here. When I saw her poor little coffin head underground, saw her exiled in death, and she had been in life, I swore to have revenge on your intolerable pride. That revenge I am now just about to complete.
It's clear to me that you are insane! Let me go! At once!
No.
Help! 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 Help!
The Duke of Williamson found his place in the family vault. Next in line was Mackenzie Williamson, but due to his unexpected death caused by the excitement of finding out that he had become Duke meant that I became the 10th Duke of the Williamson estate.
Excuse me, sir, if I may talk to you for a moment. It's a matter of some delicacy.
Follow me, please.
He looked like an inspector, but who could it be? Hamilton? Henry? Charles? Or could it be all of them?
I take it you are the Duke of Williamson. I am Chief Inspector Burgoyne of the Criminal Investigation Department, and I hold a warrant for your arrest in connection with a murder.
Murder?
Yes, the murder of Mrs. Edith Parkinson of 124 Golden Acre Road on 17th October last.
Edith who?
The murder of Mrs. Edith Parkinson.
The blow was so sudden, I found it hard to collect my thoughts. Utterly bewildered, I could only guess that Mrs. Hamilton carried out a suicide after her husband's death. What possible string of events could have led to this not so amusing irony?
Already? If you have any other last requests?
It only remains to thank you for your many kindnesses.
Inspector.
Yes?
What is it?
Your Grace, I'm happy to inform you that a telephone communication has come through. A suicide note with Mrs. Hamilton's signature on it. It's a miracle.
Yes, it's like a miracle.
Without any pending forms, I'll release you right away. Well, every good luck to you.
Thank you, Inspector.
Your Grace, I represent Magazine Titbits, by whom I'm commissioned to approach you for the publication rights for your memoirs.
My memoirs? My memoirs!